You didn't burn out. Burnout is visible. Burnout breaks routines. Burnout forces you to stop. You never stopped. You kept waking up, kept answering, kept showing up where you were expected to be. From the outside, nothing collapsed. Your life stayed intact. Your responsibilities stayed fulfilled. Your image stayed convincing. And that's what made it invisible. Because people only recognize burnout when something fails. You didn't fail. You functioned. You functioned so well, no one thought to ask where you went. There was no dramatic breakdown, no moment where everything went dark. Just a quiet shift. You stopped feeling the weight of your own life. You stopped reacting the way you used to. You stopped recognizing yourself in the person continuing everything. At first you called it exhaustion. That made sense. Exhaustion has an explanation. Exhaustion has permission. But exhaustion eventually recovers. See, this didn't. This stayed. You rested, but never felt restored. You paused, but never felt present. You continued, but never felt inside the continuation. It was as if something essential had stepped back. Not your body, not your identity. You, and no one noticed, because your body kept performing the role perfectly. But you said the right words, made the right decisions, maintained the life you built. But internally, there was distance. Distance between you and the person living your life. You didn't feel broken. You felt absent. And absence is harder to explain than pain. Pain demands attention. Absence hides inside normality. And so you told yourself you were just tired, that this would pass, that you would come back. But a quieter question started forming. Not suddenly, not dramatically, dangerously. What if you weren't burned out at all? What if you had slowly disappeared and your life never stopped without you? Burnout has an edge. It feels sharp, heavy, unavoidable. This didn't feel like that. This felt smooth, quiet, efficient. You didn't collapse. You optimized. You became faster at responding, better at handling pressure, less affected by things that used to reach you. And people noticed. They called you strong. They called you disciplined. They said, I don't know how you do it. Neither did you. Because what they saw as strength was distance. You stopped reacting emotionally, not because nothing mattered, because reacting felt unnecessary. You stopped expecting relief. You stopped expecting joy. You stopped expecting anything at all. You just continued. Continuation became your coping mechanism. Not feeling became your stability. You learned how to move through your life without needing to be fully inside it. And this is where it becomes dangerous. Because nothing breaks. Nothing interrupts you. Nothing forces you to stop and look at yourself. Your life continues rewarding you. You remain reliable, productive, trusted. Even as something essential stays missing. You begin to notice it in quiet moments. Moments where you should feel something. But don't. Not sadness. Not pain. Nothing. Just neutrality. And neutrality feels safe. But safe is not alive. You didn't burn out, but you became someone who could continue without needing to exist inside the continuation. It didn't happen all at once. No single moment where you could point and say, that's where I lost myself. It happened in adjustments. Small ones. Reasonable ones. You gave a little less reaction here. A little less honesty there. You held back what you felt. Because it was easier than explaining it. And easier became your compass. You learned how to remain composed. How to remain stable. How to remain unaffected. Not because nothing touched you. Because you stopped letting it. At first it felt like growth. It felt like maturity. You became harder to disrupt. Harder to hurt. Harder to shake. And people admired that version of you. They trusted you. Depended on you. You became someone who could handle anything. But handling everything came with a hidden cost. You stopped experiencing it. You stopped feeling the weight of your moments. Stopped feeling the texture of your life. Stopped feeling the emotional friction that makes something real. Everything became smooth, efficient, flat. You didn't react deeply. You processed quickly. You didn't linger. You moved forward. And forward became your only direction. Jam. You stopped asking yourself how you felt. You started asking yourself what needed to be done. Feeling became inefficient. Presence became optional. And optional things are the easiest to lose. You became excellent at functioning, excellent at performing, excellent at continuing. Jam. Even when continuing no longer felt like living. You noticed it in strange ways, not in pain, in absence. Moments that should have meant something felt interchangeable. Conversations that should have reached you felt procedural. Achievements that should have satisfied you felt irrelevant. Not disappointing. Empty. Not because they lacked value, because you weren't there to receive it. You started to feel like an observer, watching yourself live, watching yourself speak, watching yourself respond, without fully inhabiting the person doing it. An observation feels safer than participation. Participation risks exposure. Participation risks disappointment. Participation risks being affected. Observation keeps you intact. You don't break when you observe. You don't hurt when you observe. You don't risk when you observe. You simply continue. And continuation became your identity. Not who you were, what you did. You were the one who showed up, the one who handled it, the one who stayed reliable. Even when reliability replaced reality. Because reality requires presence, and presence is fragile. Presence can't survive constant protection. You protected yourself from disappointment. You protected yourself from emotional exhaustion. You protected yourself from uncertainty. And in doing so, you protected yourself from your own life. Your nervous system learned something important. It learned that feeling deeply was dangerous, that caring deeply was destabilizing, that being emotionally open created risk. So it adapted. Not by stopping you, by removing you. Removing your emotional exposure, removing your emotional vulnerability, removing your emotional presence, leaving behind only what was necessary to continue. Your functionality, your identity, your performance, everything except you. And this is where the illusion becomes complete. Because from the outside, you are still there, still successful, still capable, still moving forward. No one sees the absence. Because absence doesn't interrupt anything. It improves efficiency. You become less distracted, less emotional, less affected. You become someone who can survive indefinitely. But survival and aliveness are not the same thing. Survival protects your structure. Aliveness requires your presence inside it. And presence is what disappeared. Not dramatically, quietly. You adapted so well, your life no longer needed you to feel it. It only needed you to maintain it. And you did. Day after day, week after week, year after year. Until one day, you noticed something that didn't make sense. You weren't exhausted, and you were absent. Not physically, not externally, internally. You weren't overwhelmed. You weren't broken. You were missing. Missing from your reactions, missing from your experiences, missing from the person your life still believed you were. And that's when the truth finally revealed itself. Not gently, not comfortingly. Clearly, you didn't burn out. Burnout would have stopped you. Burnout would have forced collapse. Burnout would have demanded recovery. You did something far more dangerous. You adapted so completely. Your life continued without requiring your presence inside it. Your routine stayed intact. Your identity stayed intact. Your responsibilities stayed intact. Everything stayed intact. Except you. And the most terrifying part is this: no one noticed. Because from the outside, nothing ever broke. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to notice the exact moments it happens. Not the collapse, not the exhaustion. The absence. You notice how quickly you detach, how automatically you switch into function, how easily you complete things without ever arriving inside them. You finish conversations without remembering how you felt during them. You complete days without remembering how you lived inside them. You reach the end of a week without remembering being present in it. Time passes. Your life moves. You continue. It can, but you're not there. Not fully. It's like your body learned how to replace you. Not physically. Emotionally. Your nervous system made a decision. Not consciously. Not maliciously. Protectively. It decided that feeling everything was too expensive, too destabilizing, too dangerous. So it removed the part of you that felt not to harm you, to preserve you. And preservation worked. You remained stable. You remained capable. You remained reliable. You remained intact. But intact is not the same thing as alive. Alive is unpredictable. Alive is vulnerable. Alive is exposed. Intact is protected. Intact is controlled. Intact is distant. And distance became your normal. You stopped expecting to feel deeply. Stopped expecting to feel connected. Stopped expecting to feel present. Not because you didn't want to, because you forgot it was possible. Absence became your baseline. You adapted to it, refined it, optimized it. You became someone who could operate efficiently without emotional involvement. And efficiency is rewarded. People trust efficient people, depend on efficient people, respect efficient people. They don't question efficient people. They assume everything is fine. Because efficiency hides absence perfectly. You respond on time. You perform correctly. You fulfill expectations. No one sees what's missing. Not even you. At least not at first. But eventually, there's a moment. Usually small. Usually quiet. Where the illusion breaks. You experience something that should reach you. Something meaningful. Something personal. And nothing happens. No emotional response. No internal shift. No feeling. Just silence. Not peaceful silence. Empty silence. And that's when the realization begins to form. Not all at once, but undeniably. You are no longer inside your own life. You are managing it, maintaining it, continuing it, but not living it, not inhabiting it, not experiencing it. You became a structure, a system of responses, a sequence of behaviors, a predictable pattern, instead of a person inside those things. And this is the midpoint most people never cross. The moment they recognize their life is functioning without their presence. Because recognizing it creates a terrifying question. If your life can continue without you, what exactly are you inside it? Are you the one living it? Or the one maintaining it? Because maintenance doesn't require aliveness. Maintenance requires consistency. Consistency is mechanical. Consistency is repeatable. Consistency is safe. Aliveness is none of those things. Aliveness disrupts. Aliveness risks. Aliveness feels. And feeling is what disappeared. Not because you failed. Because you adapted. You became the version of yourself that could survive indefinitely. And without needing to feel anything deeply enough to break the system. And survival succeeded. Your life didn't collapse. Your identity didn't collapse. Your future didn't collapse. You remained intact. But somewhere inside that intact structure, you were no longer there. You were replaced by function, replaced by continuation, replaced by adaptation. And adaptation is invisible. And it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't ask permission. It simply removes what is no longer necessary for survival, including you. Not your body, not your identity, your presence. And that's when the most dangerous truth becomes impossible to ignore. You didn't burn out. Burnout would have forced you to stop. Burnout would have exposed the damage. Burnout would have demanded your return. Disappearance doesn't do that. Disappearance lets everything continue. Your life continues. Your relationships continue. Your identity continues. Without interruption, without collapse, without you. And from the outside, everything looks fine. Everything looks successful. Everything looks stable. Everything looks like it worked. But inside, there is no one there to experience it. And that is far more dangerous than burnout ever was. Because burnout is visible. Disappearance is not. and invisible things can last forever. There is a moment when you finally feel it. Not exhaustion, not stress. Loss. But not the kind of loss people understand. Not losing a person, not losing a job, not losing something external. You realize you lost your presence. And the grief that follows is quiet, because no one else can see what's missing. You sit in your life, inside your routines, inside your responsibilities, inside everything you work to build. And something feels empty. Not because your life is empty, because you are absent from it. You start remembering who you used to be, not the version of you people recognize now. The version of you that felt things immediately, felt things deeply, felt things honestly. The version of you that reacted without calculating, that cared without protecting, that existed without distance. That version of you didn't disappear suddenly. They faded. Faded with every moment you chose stability over honesty. Faded with every moment you chose function over feeling. Faded with every moment you chose survival over presence. You didn't notice it happening because survival feels productive. Survival feels responsible. Survival feels necessary. Until you realize survival never stops on its own. It keeps going, even when there's nothing left to survive. You built an identity around it. An identity built on a reliability, on strength, on emotional control. And people trusted that identity. They admired it. They depended on it. They didn't realize it wasn't you anymore. It was what remained after you disappeared. You became a version of yourself that could continue indefinitely. Without breaking, without stopping, without feeling. And at first, that felt like success. Because nothing was falling apart. Nothing was failing. Nothing was collapsing. But now, you see it differently. Nothing was alive either. You weren't overwhelmed. You weren't weak. You weren't incapable. You were missing. Missing from your own reactions. Missing from your own experiences. Missing from the moments that were supposed to belong to you. You realize how long it's been since you felt fully present. Not distracted. Not detached. Present. You start to notice the silence inside you. Not peaceful silence. Absence. And absence creates a strange kind of grief. Grief for someone who still exists. Grief for yourself. You grieve the version of you that felt alive. Not because they died. Because they were replaced. Replaced by someone more stable, more efficient, more capable of surviving. But less capable of living. And that realization hurts in a way burnout never could. Burnout is pain. Pain is loud. Pain demands attention. Disappearance is quiet. It lets you continue. It lets you function. It lets you live an entire life without ever being fully inside it. And that's when the most terrifying question finally forms. Not, how do I recover? But, how long have I been gone? Once you feel that grief, even faintly, something begins to shift. Not in your life, in your awareness. You begin to notice how often you leave yourself. Not physically, internally. You notice the exact moment you disconnect. When a conversation becomes too real. When a moment becomes too vulnerable. When something inside you starts to feel again. And without thinking, you retreat. You switch back into function, back into performance, back into the version of yourself that can continue without interruption. Not because you want to disappear, because you trained yourself to survive. Survival became your default setting. Your nervous system learned that presence was dangerous. That feeling deeply created instability. That caring too much created risk. So it created distance. Distance from pain. Distance from uncertainty. Distance from emotional exposure. Distance from your own life. And distance worked. It kept you stable. It kept you functioning. It kept everything intact. But distance also removed something essential. You. Because you cannot feel alive from a distance. Aliveness requires participation. Aliveness requires vulnerability. Aliveness requires you to be there. Not performing. Not observing. Existing. And existing is what your system learned to avoid. Not because existence was wrong, Because existence was unpredictable. Predictability became your safety. Predictability became your identity. Predictability became your prison. Not a visible prison, an emotional one. One where your body continued living, while your presence remained hidden. But awareness interrupts that prison. Awareness reminds you something is missing. Awareness reminds you something is possible. Awareness reminds you you are still here. Not fully, not consistently. But enough. Enough to notice, enough to question, enough to feel the absence. An absence can only be felt by something that still exists. Thus, you cannot miss yourself if there is nothing left of you, which means something inside you never disappeared. That's all. It hid. It waited. It survived your survival. And now it's signaling you, not loudly, not urgently, quietly. In moments where you suddenly feel present again, moments where something unexpectedly reaches you, moments where you feel emotion return before you push it away. Those moments are not accidents. They are reminders. Reminders that you are still capable of being here, still capable of existing inside your own life, still capable of returning. Not to who you were before, to who you are now. Someone who understands the cost of disappearance. Someone who understands the illusion of survival without presence. Someone who understands that continuing is not the same thing as living. And this is where choice returns. Not the choice to destroy your life. Not the choice to escape your responsibilities. The choice to stop abandoning yourself inside them. The choice to remain present, even when presence feels unfamiliar. Even when presence feels dangerous. Even when presence feels uncertain. Because uncertainty is where life exists. Not in predictability, not in distance, in participation. And participation begins the moment you stop living your life without yourself inside it. Coming back doesn't feel like a victory. It doesn't feel powerful. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels unfamiliar. Because for so long, you lived without yourself. You lived through routines, through expectations, through patterns your body learned to repeat. And now, for the first time, you notice yourself inside those patterns. Not controlling them, not escaping them, existing inside them. You notice how it feels to be present in a moment instead of watching it pass. You notice how it feels to respond honestly instead of correctly. You notice how it feels to exist instead of perform. And it's terrifying. Because presence removes distance. Presence removes protection. Presence removes the illusion of control. Presence makes everything real again. Real joy, real discomfort, real uncertainty, real life. You begin to understand why you disappeared in the first place. Because disappearing kept you safe. Disappearing kept you stable. Disappearing kept your life intact. Presence risks everything. Presence risks change. Presence risks disruption. Presence risks loss. But presence also gives something survival never could. Ownership. Ownership of your reactions. Ownership of your decisions. Ownership of your existence. You are no longer just maintaining your life. You are inside it. Not perfectly, not constantly, but honestly. And honesty changes everything. You start to notice the difference between continuing and choosing. Continuing feels automatic. Choosing feels alive. Continuing feels familiar. Choosing feels uncertain. And uncertainty used to scare you because uncertainty meant instability. Now, uncertainty feels like possibility. Because possibility means you are no longer trapped inside continuation. You are participating again. Participating in your conversations. Participating in your experiences. Participating in your own existence. Not as a function, as a person. You realize something that was always true, that you were never completely gone. You were hidden behind adaptation, hidden behind protection, hidden behind survival. Waiting for the moment you noticed your absence, waiting for the moment you questioned continuation, waiting for the moment you were ready to return. Not to your old life, to your real one. The one where you exist inside your moments. The one where you feel your experiences. The one where you are present inside your own story. Not watching it, living it. And maybe nothing outside you has changed yet. Your routines are still there. Your responsibilities are still there. Your life still looks the same. But internally, everything is different. Because now, you are here. Not performing, not maintaining, not surviving. Existing. And existence changes the meaning of everything. You understand now? The most dangerous part was never exhaustion. It was absence. Absence let your life continue, without you inside it. Absence let you survive, without ever living. But absence cannot survive awareness. Because awareness brings you back. Not all at once, not perfectly, but permanently. You didn't burn out. You disappeared. And the moment you realized it was the moment you stopped being gone. Because the greatest tragedy was never that you worked too hard. It was that your life kept moving after you were no longer there to live it. And the greatest awakening is realizing you still can.